All right. Okay. So now that we've talked about how to do a good solid video, let's talk a little bit about your actual keynotes. Let's go from beginning to end. Let's start with the hook story. Raise your hand if you feel confident in your hook story. Okay, so Sarah, don't worry about it. You're figuring it out. It's okay. Just no stress. So as I go down this, please don't feel badly, right? We're all on our different timelines, and it doesn't matter if someone scoots in at the very end and they get everything done and that's the way they do it. It's great. I know Sarah has been, a slacker being in New York, meeting with the editors of Better Homes and Garden. Gee, I think she needs to learn how to speak instead of going and actually doing the thing that we're teaching her how to do. Yeah. So yeah, you've got to really.
I feel like, sorry, really fast. I feel like I could pull that together. The thing I'm really struggling with is the call to action, because I know a lot of you have courses and coaching, and I don't have that. And so I'm like, that's what I'm really trying to figure out. And I almost feel like when I work backwards, I can work better.
Yes.
So I think if I know my call to action, I could go backwards from there. But that's what I'm trying to figure out right now. It's like a huge struggle.
I love that. Well, let's hot seat this for a minute if you're okay with that. And I love that Melissa is in the same situation. Let's go backwards. If that's okay, then let's go to action. What is the thing that you want to lead them to? What is the whole reason why you want to give this keynote? We are leading them to the most transformative thing that we can give them so that they can make a change. Cue Michael Jackson, right? But we want them to make a change. And if we're not, then we're just taking up space and air. So where do you want to lead them? What is the most successful thing that you have right now that you can lead them to? So there's the two pieces there. I want you to think let's just think for a moment, 10x this big picture. What would be the most transformative thing you would love to lead them to? What's the thing that if you had a magic wand and you could do it right now, what's the thing you would love to lead them to? Would it be a course? Would it be a retreat? Would it be a big stage, another big stage gig? Like, what would be that thing that you'd want to lead them to? Just brainstorm.
Like I might eventually, it's hard because I feel like the thing I'm going to speak about and the thing that I am doing and that I love are kind of two different things. They can lead into each other, but that's where I'm struggling. So, I mean, eventually I'd love, if I am speaking about the original keynote that I had, which is food and gathering, I would love to lead them to my store, right? And to come, get the tools to elevate their everyday gatherings and celebrate small moments. Like that would be the ideal. But what I've kind of thought about switching to the last few days, especially because 2 nights ago I posted a Instagram post about anxiety and like postpartum, and that's really where I'm feeling called to talk about, like what I'm feeling called to do. So I don't know. So different worlds. I can tie them in, but they don't naturally tie in together.
So let's Venn diagram this for a minute. And I'm asking you ladies to be thinking about her, but also yourself, right? What's your call to action? What do you ultimately want to lead them to? And then what can you start them off with right now that you have handy, that you have ready, right? Until that happens. Because even Sarah, even that's her ideal, but the store is not up and running, right? She has the place and she has that beautiful sign. And so they know it's coming, but she can't really lead them to that right now. But that's where
I do have my online store, but it's not like it's different. So, and I did start writing like an anxiety workbook a couple of years ago that I guess I could resurrect, but I'm like, I don't know, like that doesn't feel that I'm not trying to paint myself as an expert. My main goal is to let people know that they're not alone in their struggle. So that's all I have. And I don't know.
I think what's beautiful about what you have is that you actually have a tool belt of hard life experiences, right?
That's a good point.
So if your overall principle, remember we talk about principle-based keynotes, you're addressing an overall principle, which is I'm here with you in your hard stuff, is what I'm hearing you say, right? I've been there and here's some things I can help you with. One of the tools that you often use is food and gathering. There's something about this creating a beautiful environment. There's something about creating a beautiful meal or sitting with someone over a beautiful meal and talking through what they're struggling with, right? So I would look at how the food and the gathering would help heal anxiety. and how it would help heal the postpartum, and how would it help heal family trauma, and all of these life experiences that you have been through that are on your tool belt, and then use that thread.
So would you still hook them together? Because I do have, so when I was really struggling, I was pregnant with our fifth. We didn't know if we'd get to bring her home because she was showing major complications on the ultrasound. Spoiler alert, she ended up being completely perfect, and it was just so crazy. I mean, even if she had issues, she would have been perfect, but you know what I mean? It was just like this crazy time where we just didn't know what was happening. And my friend came to the door and she had a Quench It cookie and a drink for me. And I was too embarrassed to let her inside the house because it was so messy. And I had 4 kids under 4 years old, and I was pregnant with our fifth. And I was just like so stressed. So we sat on the porch and talked over this cookie. And so sometimes it is like the offering, even if it's not something big.
That's it. That's the word. That's it. That's the post. That's the point right there. The offering. It's the offering. It doesn't matter what it is. It's the offering. And then you can say, okay, then we can make the offering even more personal. We can make it even more tailored. And there's so many stories about that in the enzyme and in your own life, right? Where someone knew the very favorite thing that you had and that came at the right time. But that, in my opinion, ladies, feel free to weigh in, that the offering is huge. And I love this, what they're saying on the side. Can you also add how anxiety might get in the way of the meals piece? I could totally use help with that. I love that. Food is actually a big part of postpartum. The book, The First 40 Days, is amazing. So I think if you can discipline yourself to be able to say, okay, the food gathering is where I play, because this is where you play, Sarah. This is your wheelhouse. And you're so connecting that you can say, okay, now apply it to anxiety, apply it to postpartum, apply it to family trauma, apply it to friendship, apply it to whatever.
Yeah.
You can be able to make a food suggestion for all of it. And then all you need to do is hook it to something in your cookbook. I've got a cookbook, or your online store, or you got this event, or whatever, if you want to come. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love that. And then, sorry, can I say one more thing?
Yes.
The only thing is, I'm like, I just don't want to feel like I'm constantly trying to push an agenda, even though I am. I just have these huge blocks. But the other thing is, when I was in those anxious places, I'm just thinking back, there's no way in Hades I was going to let somebody in my house for a gathering. Like, I was in such a bad place where it's like, honestly, it's the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You just need food, shelter, and like, you just need safety first, and then you can move down. But the connection like really does help heal. And so when we were in Texas and I had bad postpartum, but when I started to heal was when I started making friends or going to lunch or whatever. But I'm like, so I do feel like they do connect, but then I second guess myself because I'm like, no one in that space is going to want to have a gathering. You know what I mean? No, totally.
So here's the driver that I'm hearing from you that would be fantastic. Your driver would be, what does that look like? What does food and gathering look like in postpartum? Don't gather in your house, but gather on the front step, close the door and eat the cookie on the front step, right? Or get out of Dodge and go sleep at your friend's house and have someone come watch your kids for 2 hours so that you can get out of Dodge. But that's your food and gathering is the red thread. And then you say, what does that look like in this? And the other word that keeps standing out to me, sweetie, is connection. So if you have these key pieces of the offering, it's about connection, right? That those things might be those anchor points that they'll remember and go, now you can open it up to your beautiful audience that's so connected to you and say, what does that look like for you when you're in trauma and somebody wants to do a love for you? And what does food and gathering look like to you, right? And then you've shared an experience and then they'll start coming up just like they did over here saying, oh, I remember when my friend came over and she did blah, 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 right? That will be the engagement. Okay. Chelsea, I'm really loving this angle, how to use food and gathering in out-of-the-box ways. Yes, you're connecting dots for people who are wondering how they can do this in their circumstance. Yes.
Okay. So can I just 2 more things? So I have the baby blessing story. So I did actually have a gathering when we had our daughter's baby blessing and I had postpartum. And I was trying to make this chicken salad. I think we talked about this. And I was like boiling the chicken and my husband's like, what the freak are you doing? Like, you need to stop. You are not in a place to be doing this, making chicken salad from scratch. So I had to just throw it all away. We went to Costco, bought pre-made chicken salad, and nobody freaking knew the difference. And I'm just like, so there's that. And then there's the Jimmy John story from Nashville, with giving sandwiches to everyone in line. And then there's the maybe what it looks like to you at the time is a picnic on the floor with your kids, on the bathroom floor with your kids. Like, so there's all these different things. And then yesterday I hosted lunch for friends that I've known for years. And we travel like for blogging stuff. So we've gone to Waco, we've gone to Disneyland, we've gone to Texas anyway. So we had a gathering, and honestly, everyone just went around and we just all opened up. One person had just had to leave her husband, who was a narcissist, someone who was going through a divorce and her husband's like being crazy. And then there was this, just everybody had something, and we all just like cried and laughed over food. And food was the offering. It was like the connecting piece. And I feel like Christ did that too, right? So my big thing that I want to connect it to is back to Jesus Christ and how he had the Last Supper. He washed their feet. He was just constantly bringing food in, the loaves and the fishes. And so does that make sense where my mind is heading? Yes. Does all of that,
that's
feel like
your
that
third
ties in
point.
together?
You just did those 3 points if you want them. There's the offering in whatever facet you are, whatever stage you are, whatever stage of dress you're in, right? That's the offering. And then it creates that connection, and then it leads us to Christ. And we watch how he does it, and we just rinse and repeat, right? We can go backwards on that cycle. We can do it in any order, but those are the pieces that we do. We offer who we are and what we bring. And it's that 5 loaves and 2 fishes. And then it's the connection that's made here across and then up and down, right? And that's gorgeous. What do you ladies think? Do you want to be in this keynote? Oh yeah. And then if you do this keynote and then you add something outside that's like some beautiful homemade thing you've had, or like your people make or whatever, that's something signature for you. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. So good.
Okay. And or maybe a challenge, like could the call to action be a challenge to like go make the offering to somebody? Like, and that's how you build a bridge or
invitation. Yeah. Invitation to the women. And that's what I mean. If you want to, you don't have to, but if you wanted to provide something that's dainty pair, because you always are like that, you're so generous, but then say, here, I'm giving you a thing, one for you and one to go and share with someone. And then tell us about it. Tell us how it went. You're not, removing blessings. We want to hear how that worked. And if you got that testimony, essentially, of how that worked.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I've been freaking banging my head against the wall, almost literally. So sorry for taking up so much time, but thank you.
No, this was awesome. I think this is such a great thing because it helps us be able to apply it to our things. So let me get really clear about the CTA and the closing and the testimonial then.
Yeah.
So say you go through those 3 points and leading it to Christ, you can choose which story would be the third story, the third point that would be that. I think the Jimmy John's one would be amazing, either for the hook story or for that third point, because they would be amazed at like how simple. They would be overwhelmed by the smaller things that you're sharing, the picnic and the sitting with the postpartum and seeing you, who's going to look amazing, and they're going to know you're amazing, and they'll be able to connect with you right off the bat if you share that postpartum thing. That's my personal feeling, and I'm seeing a nod from Chelsea. But you do you, right? Whatever feels good. I mean, I meant that in a good way, right? But do whatever sounds good. But then that third point. Say you do that Jimmy John's, sometimes it will look like a big thing. It will be, the Savior did 5,000, 4,000 people, and then he fed the 5,000. You've got loaves and fishes for a whole bunch of people. Maybe that's going to be your opportunity too. And then you share the Jimmy John thing, right? And then you can lead into whatever your call to action is. If you want to lead them to the online store, or if you want to lead them into an opt-in, I would do something that, even if you provide something for them to do an invitation of, hey, go share, I would do something that captures their email. So if they love what you're talking about, my first thought was your YouTube videos or something like that, because you're so personable. They're going to want more of you and your stories. So that's what I would encourage, is something like that, an opt-in, or leads them to, hey, if you do my opt-in, you get these 3 YouTube modules on how to deal with food and what food and gathering looks like in, with family drama, or with your kids doing blah, 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 or whatever, whatever your audience is struggling with. Give them 3 videos, and then you just say, hey, 5-7-minute video, and I've got 3 of them if you want to opt in. That's what, I don't know. Ladies, any thoughts?
What about newsletter? Does newsletter count too? I have a weekly
newsletter. That's as soon as they sign up for that, you're opting leads that is your
into my
newsletter.
newsletter.
So they get the opt-in and now
Perfect.
on your newsletter list.
Okay.
Any
Perfect.
thoughts, ladies?
What were you saying? Tanya said something, or sorry, about numbers on social media. Let me see.
Well, I was thinking that
They could.
if you had if you gave them something and then
Hashtag, yes.
invited them to give it to someone else,
I'm
you
so
could
old.
hashtag that on social media.
Yes.
So
Okay. So like
tie them to
the
your,
dainty pair share or something. I loved what you said
yes.
about one for you
like that.
and one to share.
Yeah,
And so
that's
it's
so
like
good.
the dainty pair share. I just
I
think
love
it'd be
that.
cool. And then maybe say what it be were to be like, I go through the post every month and send somebody some goodies or something.
That'd be good.
With that intent to share, right? I love that. Oh, the dainty pair share. You could not be any cuter. Okay, that is just rolls right off the tongue. That is so good. Look at that genius right here before us. I love this. I don't know if you're feeling it, but I've got like goosebumps and I'm like,
I
oh
did it
my
earlier.
gosh.
I love it.
Tell me when you're doing this keynote. I want to be there. It's going to be the cutest, funnest, most substantial, connecting. Everyone's going to be sitting, eating something and talking to each other. I know that was me too. It's going to be so good.
Great. Thank you guys so much. Seriously, that takes like a burden off because I've just been so stuck. So thank you.
And they're going to want to share. They're going to want to share their thing and with the hashtag dainty pair or dainty pair share or whatever it is, so that then you're going to be able to see all those that they did, because you're going to be like, I want to see what you did. And then they're going to want to share, because you always want to share when you did something that makes you feel so good.
Yes. And that will be the feel behind it. It's not, oh, wow, I'm awesome, I'm serving. It'll be, oh my gosh, this was the reaction. You're right. This was such a good idea. I want to keep doing this. So good. So let's apply this call to action now to you other ladies, Melissa, especially because she mentioned that she needed a little help with that. What is your third point that you feel like you're wanting to share? And then we can move into that call to action.
What do you mean my third point? Like my...
Remember, the third point is where you want to move them naturally into the call to action. So let's go back to what's the thing you want to lead them to, either your ultimate or the one you have right now.
Well, my opt-in is on building confidence. So something that, here's my thing is I have these ideas and I just cannot figure out how I'm supposed to put them in my life. You know, I don't feel like I'm a mom, and I feel like I'm a full-time worker. And
yes,
so on top of working 8 hours, I have 2 hours of driving that I do every day. And I have all these things. I'm like, where are they supposed to fit? One of the things that I kind of keep coming up is I feel like that I want to do retreats, helping women gain confidence and learning things about themselves. And I'm just like, how, I don't even know where to put this in my life. I'm just like, and so I'm really struggling with being able to offer anything, because I'm like, I have no time. I have no space in my life to offer anything. And so it's really difficult, because I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but I don't know how to do it.
You know what? I love that you shared that, because that is such a feeling that so many of us have and feel like we're drowning in the possibilities, right? The to-dos, the possible to-dos. So start where you are and start where you're having success. Do you find that women want to be more one-on-one talking with you? Or do you find that your audience wants to have things that are written down and they can actually act on them? What do you find? Because you're working with people who have been through a divorce and they are struggling with confidence. And I would call yourself professional right? You're professional mom or whatever, because I don't know if you want to even emphasize the mom thing, but you are a professional, and women who are professionals need this, especially professional divorced women. So do you find that like you're more successful with women getting your message across one-on-one, or is it if you give them something and they want to read it and act on it? What do you find?
I find I'm better one-on-one, because
That's
then
what
I can take some of their thoughts and we can talk about them and process them, which is part of what my job and what I do is we really dig into and process things that are going on.
And that's more your personality type, that deeper thinking. So a couple of thoughts just for you to consider. Now, I don't know the legality of this, so you can let me know. I just know you can't do it when you have a meeting, but I'm thinking about, those car song karaoke things, Jennifer Lopez, J-Lo, and somebody else does. What's his name? I can't remember his name, but he does it with all big stars.
James Corden.
That's it, James Corden. And he does it with all the stars, right? And he does the karaoke and the singing and the cars and whatever. As you're driving, you could record chats, your thoughts and stories. So just start with like even just a thought of with confidence. Say it's with confidence and you're like, oh man, I just had this experience where I was in this meeting and I know I could have spoken up, but this guy was so intimidating. He reminded me of my ex. And so I got triggered and blah, 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 whatever. But then I realized I'm divorced and I'm not married to this person anymore. And he does not have any control of me. So then I sat up straight and I delivered what I wanted to say. And guess what? They loved the idea. But do you see what I mean? You start with an idea, some kind of a point that you want to make, then have a story that you connect to it because you're a great storyteller. And then as you're driving, just record a 5 to 7 minute video that you could now post on either social media to start with. And then you could also upload on YouTube very easily, very easily. But if that's overwhelming, don't worry about it. Just bank it for right now, right? Just save them. How would that sit?
That's almost the best thing ever because I spend so much time in my car and I Marco Polo in my car and I process and think in my car. And I could do videos and then I need someone to teach me how to edit them down because
or hire someone to do it if you can, because there's lots of teenagers that can do it so slick, or someone who's a subcontractor or someone who's in the Philippines that can do that super slick. And then you're not having to even spend time on that. Something to consider. But think about your audience avatar, Melissa. They're going to be doing the same thing. They're professional divorced women. You better believe they've got car time. So they're going to listen, and they can listen in 5 to 7 minute snippets. And if they hear a story and a point, they're going to love it. And they're going to feel like they're creating a best friend and that, oh, I'm going to listen to Melissa. Right. And that could even be a little thing. Listen to Melissa. Right. It kind of like sits with it. But
wait, did you see Chelsea's thing?
No, what she said. Wait, Melissa, isn't your maiden name writing? You could use that. Listen to Melissa writing in the car, writing with writing, right? Something like that. That is so good.
Okay, I feel like I can do that.
The writing chats or something like that, right? Something right in the car. Oh, there's something so good in there. There's something so.
Can I say really?
Chelsea, genius.
I know that. Oh, sorry.
Can you see that?
I know that.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, face light up, Melissa, and there's energy behind that. And I bet you could come out with like 10 ideas of stories and points that you could have and then just take it one at a time, however energy rich it feels. Sarah.
Just a different take on it. I think it'd be cool. Sometimes it's hard to watch a video, especially while you're driving. If you did a podcast that people could listen to in 5 to 7 minutes on their drive, I feel like that would be good. And then I've just with friends that I've seen that do the car, like, even though I think writing it out with Melissa would be so cute, like making the best of things, whatever, on a podcast. But I've had a lot of friends be super torn apart by having, even if their phone's anchored, by driving and chatting on video. So I'm just before you put it out there, I'm just letting you know.
That is a really good point. If that's something that is distracting or whatever, then that's a really good point. I was wondering about even the legality of it, but something.
However, I think a podcast, everybody listens to podcasts while they drive.
Exactly. Sorry. And even in recording it, you can just record, like I do stuff on my notes, I've got memos on my phone and just recording the audio so that I'm just recording my thoughts to myself. So I don't know if that's, I'm writing out, I like writing out with Melissa. Chelsea is just like genius. She is gifted. Maybe research into that, Melissa, and find out what could be the best way to do that, because you're right. That is a good chunk of time. And it could be that, you would need to just figure that out, but and still market it as car ride material for sure, because they can listen while they're driving for sure. Absolutely. And then if you record it as a Zoom and whatever, you can pull the audio off and then just upload it as a podcast. So it's one-time energy. So you've got YouTube and then you've got podcast, and it's the one-time energy. You're just doing 5 to 7 minutes. But even if at the very least, as you're driving, you just start recording ideas for the story, as much as you would do that, it would refine you down and help you to tell the story better. So it wouldn't even be wasted. Say you're driving, you do 3 points and you're recording those, and the way you could do it. Now you've already recorded it once, or you could even record it a couple of times as you're driving and just saying it out loud and just thinking it or whatever. It will be so much better when you actually go to record it. I love that intro saying listening on your way to or from work. And I would say especially coming back home from work, because you're just vegged, right? You're so drained and you just want connection. So as you're driving home and you're listening, just like, oh, car ride home with Melissa, like riding home with Melissa, right? It's just like Melissa just came in the car with you. We're like, how was your day? Well, here's what was on my mind. What's on your mind, right? It would be so, so fun. I think we're all on board that this would be so fun. So pray about it, brainstorm some ideas, even pop it in the speaker track and say, hey, I'm thinking maybe doing it this way or that way, and we can help you flesh it out. So that would be your call to action. So your third point would probably be something like maybe a point of being able to connect or share or stay with learning about how to deal with situations or stuff like that. And then that perfectly leads into, if you want some thoughts and ideas, or if you want to feel connected, or if you want to feel like, man, I've got these problems with, how do I deal with these problems? I've got a whole array of things that I address. And I give you a little vignette and then a little thought-provoking question or a possible solution. And I've just got these 5 to 7 minutes that you can ride home with me, blah, blah, blah. That would just be so good. And they would look forward to it on the ride home. And what's genius about that is that you're setting up that anticipation, right? That anticipatory routine, so that it's a habit. So when they get in the car, they're going to want to listen to you. And that's gorgeous. All right, really quickly, I think we're on a good thing. Chelsea and Tanya, anybody need any help really quick in the last minute we have with the call to action? This is great, great work. I would totally have a voice note running while you drive, or asking Siri to make a note is what I do. Yes, I have all those notes. And then you can actually, you can do Otter AI as well. And that will, if you record into it, they'll transcribe it for you. So you can actually see it, tidy it up, and then re-record it. So yeah, exactly. Podcast, here I come. And that's how the magic is born. Oh, I love this. Ladies, what a juicy, great session today. So reminder on the homework, send in your 5 to 7 minute video to your peer partner, have your full keynote outlined, bullet pointed, so you know what you're going to say, and make sure you finished up with that CTA closing and testimonial and closing. Okay. And then watch the modules, whatever you can watch, that would be great. And then we'll talk about that more, the tech timing slide next week. We'll just bump that to next week. Okay. But watch it this week, but we'll do something with it next week. All right. All right. Love you. Great job. Mwah.